Here we go. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Astrology Victoria. I'm Dulcie Cardinal, and this is my co-host,
Tatiana. Hello, Dulcie. I am so excited to see you again. And now we are here to discuss. What are we discussing today, Dulcie?
So we're going to discuss the month of November, the Astrology of November. Yeah.
Get ready, folks. But before we discuss the astrology of November, we have a few little announcements. So, Dulcie, what are we having this month for our viewers? It's a surprise. What is it?
Yes, so we are going to be doing a book giveaway for the members of Astrology Victoria. And basically how we're going to decide who will be the winner of a book will be based on everybody making some sort of creative presentation of a transit that's happening in November. So feel free to sit back and relax and enjoy this video and pay attention to the transits that are happening in November. And you can choose one that is interesting to you and then give your own kind of presentation on that transit. And we are encouraging people to be creative with it. So it doesn't have to just be discussing the transit or describing it. You can feel free to do whatever you like. So you can show images, you can do artwork, you can show short clips,
Performance,
movies, do your own performance. What else did we have? Anything that you can think.
Anything you can think of, and keep it succinct, short. It's just a transit, something that like evokes the energy of the transit. And for example, if you're making a video where you're either doing some kind of performance or song or whatever, make sure to keep it under 2 minutes, more or less. And yeah, otherwise we will have you post this wonderful creations on our Facebook group. So make sure to subscribe to our Facebook group. All the information will be on the links below. So you subscribe to Astrology Victoria, to our channel and our Facebook group. And if you don't have Facebook, we will be able to submit your entry by email to astrologyvictoriabc@gmail.com. The email will be down below. So, Dulcie, anything else we need to say before we go on with our monthly discussion?
No, just that the books we'll choose a variety of books that you will be able to pick from. So it will be from multiple types of astrology, kind of like the main books that are used for each type of astrology. So whatever kind of astrology you study, there will be books that are interesting to you.
Oh, okay. So make sure to stay until the end of the video so you get a little bit of the gist of the month of November. Dulcie, let's dive in.
All right, let's do it. Perfect. Okay, so Astrology of November 2021. Welcome, everybody.
Take a deep breath, people. Did not watch the October, go back to watch October so you get the what's going on.
Yes, absolutely. So we'll just start with November 1st and the main transit that we pinpointed was this Mercury trine Jupiter. So any thoughts on that to begin with, Tatiana?
Well, the Mercury trine Jupiter for me is a very hopeful aspect. It means that our mind might be clear. We might get a little bit more of insight around what is true for us. And speaking truth, Jupiter wants to bring optimism and hope. And Mercury, the communication, the mind, the thoughts, can bring a lot of hope and good. Yeah, like it's also good for speaking and communicating what's true for you, and for doing it with a hope with hope, because even if we have this trine, we are also within a little bit of a soup of other aspects that are a little bit, that could be a little bit more tense, like the sun also squaring Saturn at the same time. um exactly. So when we have some kind of loss of vital energy, because the sun is vitality, and a loss of maybe motivation or feeling that we have to answer to some external authority, this Mercury Jupiter gives us the energy or the possibility to speak up and do it from a place of your own truth. So for me, this first week in general, and we'll discuss other areas, is about finding your inner authority. What is your truth and how you communicate it to others? Mercury is still in Libra, so there's still a good possibility for having good negotiations that come from a deep understanding of who you are and what you need, and not necessarily what it's being imposed on you, which could feel like that. There could be big impositions. You might feel like, you know, where do I have to take responsibility for myself and my choices, and where are those responsibilities being up upon me? This is how I feel and sense this energy. So Dulcie, what do you think about this Mercury trine Jupiter?
Yeah, so with Jupiter, we're kind of able to see things from a broader perspective. And so Mercury and Jupiter combined, we're able to put our mental processes into effect by coming up with plans for our future, or laying the foundation for a good way of doing things in our work or at home. And it's likely to be positive and beneficial for many people with Jupiter involved. And with the Sun and Saturn involved, this can lead to these plans coming to fruition. With Saturn, we're creating tangible things. And so we are able to put our broad plans into fruition and create something that is useful for people in our workplace, or useful for the comings and goings of the people in our household.
Yeah, and let's not forget that Saturn is still in Aquarius and Jupiter is in Aquarius. So we're trying to also create structures that will sustain in time. There are new structures that are more beneficial for the collective, for the betterment of society at large. Aquarius wants definitely to create structures that are more would you call that, more circular, and and that create network kind of structure, not pyramidal, as we've been seeing this play out as, you know, Pluto moves out of Capricorn, and we've been seeing this pyramidal structures become more like this. And this is part of what's is going on. And because we're coming near also that opposition to, you know, to Uranus, that we'll see a little bit later, a few days later. This is also announcing, you know, this whole energy is announcing again that need to break free, to find our personal freedom, what is true for me, how I find structures that give me freedom in my life, that I create from within. And that, like Dulcie said, the broader perspective brought by Jupiter, that says, well, look, there's hope, there's optimism, and there is something to really be hopeful for. So yes, basically there is a light at the end of the tunnel. This is what Jupiter is saying, even though we might feel that we've been waiting for this light for a while, you know, but now finally that was going, come on, there is a window. Yay! Okay, so that's that. So um and with that opposition to Uranus, there could be a little bit of desires to just be completely okay, I just do whatever I want, you know, I need to be free, you know. So Saturn is saying, okay, reel it in, you can be free, but create a sound structure, create a, you can't just go like a crazy person and do whatever you want. It's like it needs to be beneficial for everybody. So that's a very uncomfortable spot that we're going to be in, especially when it comes to self-expression, you know. Ooh. Anyway, Dulcie, is there anything else, or should we go on to the next slide?
I think that's great. Let's move on. So next we have our third and final Mercury square Pluto. So Mercury went direct and squared Pluto the first time. That was on September 23rd. And while it retrograded, it squared Pluto again on October 1st. And here it is squaring Pluto for a third and final time, November 2nd.
So I don't know how you felt those squares, but oh my God, has the conversation been raw for the past few weeks?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Mercury's in Libra, so this is going to involve relationships and other people. So it can be an inner sensation, but it often has to do with conversations with other people and kind of really diving in and getting to the root of the problem.
Yes, it's almost like the shadow is really reflected by the other. So we're very prone to projecting onto others with these aspects, like what is really mine and what is really yours. And with this Pluto square Mercury, it's more often than not we'll see something from somebody as a mirror, and we'll try to project. That's not me, that's you. It's like this kind of mirror back and forth. So with this aspect, it's really important to acknowledge that the other is just lovingly showing us our own shadow, where we are, falling short of like maybe awareness, and bringing that to light, and having these raw, difficult conversations can be extremely transformative, because in the end, what Pluto wants is for us to detach or let go or die to an aspect of ourselves that needs to go. And because we're going to enter very slowly into the Scorpio season, the sun's already in Scorpio, but we're going to have more scorpionic energy. We'll talk about it. This is where we definitely need to look at what needs to die. What needs to die for us? Is it a job that we no longer like? People, beliefs? It doesn't matter. There's always going to be these cycles going. Now this needs to die. Like leaves fall off the trees, things need to die. And if we're still stuck, like really holding on to something, this square to Pluto will make sure we can voice it, we can see it, and we can see in relationships what's not working. What is not working in relationships, and how to not like to really be fair, and that all parties involved get what's fair. And that goes back to that inner authority and creating a structure of life for yourself that works aligned with your inner truth.
Mhm. Yeah, and these kinds of issues, I imagine will be confronted with them rather than having to go searching for the problem. It with Pluto, it'll be just in your face, and we've kind of had a taste of it already with the two other squares. So this is kind of the resolution of whatever has been going on for you.
Yeah, I wrote in my notes, the ugly truths come to light, like they're just there.
Mhm.
And are you willing to look within and transform, or ignore and hide? Who are you hiding from? You cannot hide from yourself and your fears. This is a little bit what this wants you to think of, to you know get into. And uh, even though we don't, I mean, this first week of November, we have these energies, there is also a little bit of grace with Venus. Nonetheless, is gracefully making a suggestion, with a sextile to Mercury. And that little suggestion, a sextile is what we call an opportunity, is an energy that if it's harnessed, it can yield something. So we need to kind of think about it and go like, oh, I have an opportunity. These times, we're getting to that raw, to that bleh. So Venus is encouraging us to maybe express this through art, through beauty, through how can we express the raw and the deep and the dark in a poetic or hopeful way. And I kept getting this image of slaves in cotton plantations singing the blues. So it's not pretty necessarily, but there is like something gets transformed through an artistic expression, through there's beauty even in the ugly. And this is an invitation from that sextile, because it can just be ugly, but what about a beautiful ugly? That's an oxymoron.
Yeah, I can yeah, in those moments of feeling intense Pluto energy, just deep, deep emotions. You can experience sort of an appreciation for it, despite it being uncomfortable. You recognize that you're a human being and you can experience a broad range of emotions. And that in itself is beautiful. So being able to find ways of expressing them uh, can help move that Pluto energy towards the transformation and uh, becoming the butterfly period rather than the mushy caterpillar in the cocoon part.
Okay, so we can move on a little bit of what happens, because this is just that's how we enter the month, and the first week is going to be tainted with these energies, So I think we have the new moon then on November 4th. We have that new moon in Scorpio, and we will be making a video more specifically for the new moon, so we won't go too deep into it. But like every new moon, this is a time of seeding and intention. And this Scorpio energy is going to be really intense by then, because we're going to have Mars, the moon, the sun, all in Scorpio. And moving on through the month, we're going to have a heavy Scorpio energy. And this is again the time to look outside, where it's, in the northern hemisphere, it's the fall. If you can look at what is dying and falling off and recognize that that's a part of life, what needs to die, and then see an intention of what you want to consciously transform. And that is the key to a successful new identity that we've been trying to birth for already like a whole year. So and look into those painful spaces. Yeah, what do you have to say about this?
Yes, just what do we need to let go of? And Scorpio is often related to, our psyche and mental health, and deep emotions. So what is kind of keeping you stuck in those deep emotions, or what are you getting triggered by, and how can you process a little bit deeper and better so that you don't keep getting triggered by something, or it's all about processing things and then letting it go once they are processed.
I am still so attached to my cat. What? Sorry, Neptune. I can't let this go. I can't. Sorry, I had to do that. Sorry, Neptune. Yes.
Yeah.
And recognize. And this, because the sun is going to be really there with the moon in this very powerful beginning, it will shine light into into what needs to be gone. And that's when either it comes from your inner self, and it depends where in your chart you have Scorpio. So wherever, that's the area of life you would need to look in your chart. Where is Scorpio in your chart? And that area of life is the area of life that is kind of transforming, and we're shining light onto that area of life, so that what's outdated needs to release. And having also Mars in its own sign, you know, there's gonna be this deep dive. This is how I mean the Scorpio energy, and with Mars there and the Sun there, there's a deep dive, either for truths to come up to the surface. Is it something inside of you? Collective truths and things that have been under the surface or hidden will come bubbling up. And the ugly truths again. Ugly truths are just part of life. You know, so just coming at peace with that, I think it's really important. So yeah, that's what I have to say about that.
Yes, and this new moon will be opposing Uranus. So the new moon will actually be happening at 12 degrees of Scorpio. And this is opposite to Uranus at 12 degrees of Taurus. So that brings in a whole nother energy with Uranus of maybe something that is shocking or different or a little bit bizarre, something that we're not quite prepared for, and also feelings of just restlessness. Yeah, just this energy that needs to be let out somehow.
Some shocking truths could come to the surface. I wrote that in my notes. Like a shocking truth could come out, or a shocking revelation, something that out of the shows us something that completely takes us by surprise. Like, oh my God. And that could create a lot, like you said, a lot of restlessness, like, or deep urges for freedom, for you know, like, you know, that could happen too. Like, I have this image of the cat being like, and then there's this like, you know, and so this new moon will bring a lot of that. So the invitation would be to seed the intentions for what you would like to, what is the best version of your sovereign self, based on truths that are aligned with who you are, coupled with structures that are sustainable in time, you know, and then at the same time releasing things that will no longer sustain this new way of being, because this is what's going to happen through this Scorpio season. Is like, if the new structures put in place won't sustain the old ways of behavior, so you're going to be forced to think different, to act different, or it's going to be forced upon you, and it's not going to be fun. So let's do the little deep dive and make the conscious choices from within.
Yeah. All right, sounds good. And after that, we have on November 9th, we have Mercury conjunct Mars, and both Mercury and Mars will be squaring Saturn.
So can you show us that nice combo? Oh, Mars Mercury is really interesting, because that's for me like is like, let's put on our detective suits and let's go dive deep for you know, that's the quintessential detective. Let's go find where the truth is. Let's go find what's hidden. Let's go do it. Like, that's Mars, you know, the will. Even obsessively, it can go so obsessively into, I mean, I need to find the truth. I need to find it. I need to find it. I need to look more for it. Deeper, 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 right? And with Saturn, it also feels like it's like, I need to move forward with something, but Saturn holds it back. Is this like, I want to do this, I want to create this, no, I want to look for this, no, you know. That feels for me like that there is a desire a need to dive deep, and at the same time a difficulty or something that's stopping the process or making it harder, or on the positive side, making sure that we're not being rash. For example, with Mars Mercury, words could be very rash. You could say like poignant things, like really express something like very harshly. It could be also prone to anger, right? But not like in the Pluto sense where you're like bursting in anger. It could be like repressed anger, like Saturn, maybe there's anger and I have to say something, but I don't say it. Or if I have to say something, I'll say it with like an authoritative quality. So these are all possibilities with this energy. Um, so I don't know, Dulcie, how do you think this could play out for people?
I could see this as you were talking about with anger. I could see Mars and Mercury in Scorpio being expressed as defensiveness, and with Saturn acting as some sort of authority figure or just anybody at work, or kind of
Yeah.
giving you a no and or criticism of some kind, and you feeling defensive about it and using your words to express that defensiveness, perhaps speaking too quickly, and regretting it later, but also perhaps being quick-witted, so kind of sending that dig or that insult, but in a joking manner, but it has some degree of truth to it. So this can be difficult for relationships with others. I would just say that perhaps use caution, and think before speaking. And I think Saturn might be helpful for that too. Saturn might be able to kind of, you might want to say it, but Saturn could be helping you and holding back a bit.
Exactly. And also because we might be finding something that we want to express right away. Make sure this Saturn might want to say, hold on, like maybe you found something, but it's not like, and it could be something playing in the world stage, it's some truth. Again, we're getting revealed, or something's cooking, or we're looking for something and we found something, and instead of like right away, it's like, are you sure? Make sure, and I think Saturn wants that. Saturn in that square wants to make sure that what we're doing, it's consistent, that it's not impulsive, and that we don't regret it later, like what Dulcie said. So this is a good time to, use that Saturn. Instead of feeling like, oh, I can't express myself, use it as, okay, what is the need I have to express this? Am I sure of what I'm going to say, or I'm going to regret this later? Especially if it comes with anger or resentment. That's what we want to avoid.
I think Venus, who's sextiling both Mercury and Mars, will be a beneficial factor in this. Venus is good for relationships and harmony and bringing people together. So she might be able to help out a little bit.
Yeah, and remember, Venus also wants you to bring grace to the table. So is there a way that we can gracefully, assert ourselves and the depths of what we're finding within us with a grace? Is it possible? And again, if it needs to be a poem, so be it. Go and write a poem. Maybe it's an angry poem of frustration. Maybe that's what you want to do. I'm frustrated. I cannot speak. I cannot, or I'm feeling pain, or I'm feeling hurt, and then write a poem about it. That could be a wonderful way to release the energy that's blocked, or because with Saturn and Mercury, it feels like, so that could be that.
Okay, let's move on to.
So we wanted to talk a little bit about the Scorpio energy, because we've been talking about what needs to die, the deep dive, the death, all of that. if you have not watched our video on the Scorpio energy, we're gonna put a link below so you can also go see that video, because it's very thorough on what Scorpio means. And because we have those three planets in Scorpio, Mercury, the Sun, and Mars is in its own sign. This energy is heavily, see, so this image is representative of the capacity to transform through death. And you have to go to that cave of darkness, fear, and uh, and 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 dive deep into those waters in order to find the gold that is true transformation and liberation, in order to get out of that cave again as a butterfly. Did I say it nicely, Dulcie?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We're kind of paying attention to the depth of our psyche, the depth of our emotional experience. And it's not always our favorite emotions. We're really feeling all kinds of things. And it'll be about processing these emotions and spending time with them, not just bypassing them or trying to get rid of them, or, distracting ourselves so that we don't feel them, because then they linger and they stay in our bodies and they come up again and even stronger next time. And it's harder to deal with. So as they come up, we'll need to take time to focus on them, to journal, to meditate, to explore them. Not necessarily saying, why am I feeling this way? I wish I was feeling some other way. Like, what can I do to make it go away? Okay, that's a lot of rhyming. But you
It's a
know,
style.
yeah, just just sitting with it, maybe acknowledging that you'd like it to be different, but then just sitting with it and feeling it. And Ren Butler, our teacher, always talks about, holotropic breath work and being able to dive into those emotions and really feel them,
Mm, love.
and to really express it. So if you have the space to kind of just yell into a pillow, or just like some sort of emotional catharsis, depending on whatever your situation is. It can be expressed in different ways, but being able to really express it and let it out, can definitely help to then allow you to move past it.
Yeah, and if you have the space to do that with somebody that is maybe a professional, it's this is the greatest time, literally, to go to therapy. And therapy is not a bad thing, please, people. It's a necessary part of the human experience. Is looking at that, and this is a beautiful, let's say, opportunity, because we can either take the opportunity and transform, or keep shoving under, and then the new cycle brings that up, and it's just wonky. You're gonna be carrying stuff that you don't need to carry. So the opportunity that this energy gives us is the opportunity to release that stuff, and it could be stuff that has been there for a while. And because we're gonna see lots of stuff surfacing, it's very important to self-love. I think that's why we have that Venus there. It's very important to take care of our needs, to to make sure we do it with compassion. And if our friends or people around us are going through very difficult times, because there can, and I'm gonna say not just to be the bearer of bad news, there can be actual deaths. This energy is the death of. Deaths can be deaths, actual physical deaths. So I'm not saying that that's necessarily the case, but we need to look at this. It's not, we can't keep just like la 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 la, unicorns and rainbows always. That's beautiful, but it's this is part of life, and acknowledging it as it and being in the journey with it is the gold. And there is a difference between pain and suffering. So the invitation is to look at the pain, but not stay in the suffering, which is the attachment to the pain or the situations or the thoughts that keep recreating the pain that turns into suffering. So the idea here is to just recognize it and release it, and do it with whatever works for you. There's so many different ways you can do this. You can do it through cathartic processes, through holotropic breath work, through trance dances, through whatever you need to move it through. And I think this is important because our whole collective is going through so much devastation, really, for the past like year and a half. It's been so devastating that a lot of this is going to percolate now. And again, the shocking news, things that are ugly, the collective shadows are going to be very present. So yeah, be gentle with the process, I would say, and keep the hope alive and your center. And with this, we will be concluding the first half of the month, and stay tuned for the next half that will be releasing in short in a short time. So Dulcie, would you like to say anything, add anything, and close?
No, just related to this kind of Scorpio season, we can perhaps consider, since it's all about letting go, also what kinds of things in our daily life are kind of overwhelming us at the moment. What kinds of responsibilities can we let go or put to the side while we take the time to engage in self-care? When COVID happened, a lot of people were at home and were able to kind of get a sense of a pause from their daily toils. And now we've kind of gotten back into regular life and the regular pace of things, and it's a lot. There's a lot going on. So perhaps how can we step back again, and do we need to really have all of these things on our plate all at once? Or yeah, go ahead.
The invitation also of Mercury and Venus could also be like laughter, an invitation for lightness, invite maybe some laughter into your life, some laughing yoga practices, or because this, when the energy is so heavy and we just go into the heavy, then it can be difficult to get out of that muck. So the polarity point of Scorpio is Taurus. So let's not forget that as well, that if we're really into this heaviness and we're invited to be there, also do it with love. Anything we do with love and self-care is definitely better than when it's by shock therapy, and some laughter. Take breaks. If it's too hard and too difficult, take a little break, go watch a funny movie, and I don't mean this like in escapism. I mean as a means of balancing. And sometimes not taking life too seriously is also indicated. If we just believe that life is all the difficulty we have and all the heaviness, then that's what it is. So yes, not ignoring it because it's also there. However, keeping it light as well to the best of our ability, so we don't lose our capacity for joy and our capacity for play. So I think that's also going to be very important through these times that feel not joyful, not playful, heavy, constrictive, difficult, maybe, so yeah. So with that,
Yeah.
including.
All right. Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. We'll be back in about a week with the second half of November. And once again, if you feel so inspired to create your own presentation about one of the transits that are happening in November, please feel free to contact us. You can reach us on Facebook or email, and we'll add all the links in below. You can ask us questions, and if you want to submit your own presentation, that would be great. And we'll share that with everyone.
So feel free also to subscribe and share this video and like, algorithms find us, then you find us, everybody finds us, and everybody gets the opportunity for this wisdom and knowledge to get out in the world. So thank you for being here. And Dulcie, thank you so much.
Thank you, Tatiana. Always a joy.